Hey, all you whiskey fans. Today I want to tell you a personal story about how I found American whiskey in Switzerland. If you are an expat or somebody who travels out of the US a lot, you might know this feeling. You have that one thing that really, I don't know, speaks to you and is a part of your life. It's something that you are enjoying or taking part of often. And as you move or find yourself in a new area or a place, you kind of lose touch with that. And kind of doesn't make you feel whole. While moving to Switzerland, of course, there was a lot of things which I missed leaving California. But one of the major things that really slowly had become a part of my life and was something I was enjoying and doing often with friends and family was having a glass of whiskey. And specifically American whiskey. I wasn't drinking a lot of scotch. I was mainly bourbon, maybe a little bit of Irish, but mainly bourbon. And as some of the longer viewers might know, I was traveling to a lot of distilleries and partaking in a lot of whiskey. Moving to Switzerland, I of course lost touch with this. Not to mention this was during COVID, so I was missing this. I was missing interactions with people. I was missing a good glass of whiskey. I didn't know where all the good whiskey clubs or events were happening. And it took me quite some time to figure this out. So I want to tell you about a couple things which, if you are like me, traveling around the world or specifically checking out Switzerland, this might be interesting because I did check out a few stores, just Googled and found some places you can buy whiskey online. But whiskey's part of the relationship, and that's something I had almost no part of until checking out the Zurich WhiskySchiff. And Schiff in German is ship, so it's a whiskey ship. Now, funny enough, this year, because of the weather, it was just done in a big hall, but essentially, you have all these different booths, and all around you have different kind of whiskey vendors and whiskey stores giving you some good whiskey to try out. I was very, very lucky that one of the stops I made, of course, knowing more about American whiskey and knowing what I like in American whiskey, I was very fortunate to stop by the Campari booth and meet one of the brand ambassadors at Wild Turkey, which was amazing because this kick-started everything for me. After a little bit of talking and kind of getting to know each other, he recommended that I join EBRA. And I'm like, okay, what is this? Turns out EBRA is the European Bourbon and Rye Association. EBRA, for short, I'm going to call it EBRA, is exactly what I was missing. A group of people who just like to geek out and really dive into the details of whiskey. Being a part of this club has not only introduced me to other people which are just as fascinated about American whiskey outside of America, here in this case in Switzerland, but has also given me the opportunity to taste and be a part of and experience some whiskeys that on my own, even in the US, I don't think I would have got my hands on or been able to really enjoy. I mean, the Detling lineup, which we'll talk about a little bit more later in a different video, is all imported by them. And they're bringing in these amazing whiskeys as well as others. What I have in my glass right now is actually a Dowling 14-year-old whiskey. So Dowling, for those of you that might be familiar, is a Kentucky bourbon distilled in 1951, bottled spring 1965, and distilled by the old Poindexter Distillery in Kentucky. This was DSP number 33. It was actually bottled by the Dowling Distillers in Tyrone, Kentucky, DSP 27. And it sells for around $600 to $800 a bottle if you're lucky enough to find it. Needless to say, it's delicious. And I mean, I think I got this just a couple days ago and you can already see how empty it is. Amazing stuff. This is just one of many. At EBRA, one of the things I highly recommend is at least, they have all these events, they do all these things year round, they have all these bottlings, but what's super interesting, and if you find yourself in the area, it's like you can't not be a part of this, is their annual members meeting. Oh man, where to begin? Well, for starters, again, the group of whiskey people is something which I always love. And these whiskey people especially are just fun to be around. Hilarious. Very quickly I felt at home. And probably the bottomless and endless whiskey sours had something to do with this. It's dangerous, don't get me wrong. You gotta really pace yourself because you don't want to spend too much time with all the cigars and whiskey sours. you do want to save a little bit of your palate for the lineup which they provide. Now, here's just kind of a couple clips of some of the things that we were able to taste, and here you can see like the whole tasting lineup of what we had a couple years ago as well. But this stuff is insane. Things at this age statement, this old, that I didn't even know people in California that would be able to share this experience with me. And it's ridiculous to think that in moving to Switzerland, I was able to try, taste, and speak to other people, bond over this experience. Just in case this like little tasting or this lineup maybe doesn't sound interesting to you, what for me takes it one step further, and EBRA has another division or like a sister kind of group as well, EBRA. And this is their barrel association. So not only is this an amazing group of people all sharing and living whiskey together, and American whiskey, bourbons and rye, but they also travel to the US often and import and buy barrels, which they will then sell in Switzerland. We're talking, and there's a pretty big lineup here. They get the biggest names. They've got barrels from Four Roses, Wild Turkey, of course, but like everyone. They traveled, they've tasted, and they've brought back amazing things. Again, after my video with Detling, I got so many people reach out to me and say, hey, how can I get my hands on this? Or how can we taste or try this? I can't find it in my liquor stores. Hey, again, in California, I don't think I would have been able to find it either. It's ridiculous that in Switzerland, we're getting bottles and bottles and bottles of this stuff. So it's quite amazing. There are like fees associated with this club, but it's almost nothing. And when you consider what you're getting back, it's something I would probably pay double for if need be. It's so worth it, and it's an activity in a time that almost every year I really look forward to being a part of. And again, sitting down and talking to people about whiskey. If you are like me, even if you're not like American, but you just really like bourbons and rye, and maybe you got a bunch of Scotch friends or people who don't really appreciate it and you miss that, or you want to be a part of it, you want to understand what's so interesting about bourbons and rye, I heavily, heavily recommend stopping by and getting in contact with EBRA. It's a club that I'm a part of. I can't see myself ever leaving. And it's something that opens up a whole new world of whiskey, and for me, has given me opportunity to experience and enjoy things that on my own, I probably never could have partaken in. So if you're in Switzerland, you got the time, you like bourbon and rye or whiskey in general, just want to be with like-minded people, check out EBRA. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. With that, cheers to you, and I hope to see you at the next EBRA event. Bye now. By the way, this drink is delicious. I mean, "14-year-old bourbon." It's not too woody, just the right amount of oak, a ridiculous amount of deep vanilla, a little bit of bacon spice. Probably it's a rye, or got rye in the mash bill, but can you see that color? Yeah, maybe not there, but it's so delicious, so good. This was full, 50 ABV, like maple syrup on the finish. It's delicious. Oh, I could